Hey, welcome back to the Summer Rain channel. Today we're making a do-it-yourself bubble bar, which is a bubble bath but in bar form. So we don't need to use any plastic, any container, anything like that. It's just in a solid form. If you haven't done so already, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. I do post a new video each week. I also post a link to my blog, and in that blog post you get a full printable recipe for this bubble bar. I also go a little bit more in depth about all of the ingredients, why we use them, and all of that. Let's go ahead and learn how to make a bubble bar. We have 4 dry ingredients in this bubble bar recipe. We have the SLSA. This is our powdered surfactant. It's what creates all of the bubbles in this recipe, so this is what creates the bubbles. Then we have baking soda. Now this helps to dry up our bubble bar. So when we make it in a dough form, and then we need it to harden. So it's very important to have the baking soda. It also makes your water feel softer. Then we have cream of tartar. Now you might want to know if you can leave this out. I wouldn't. This is actually what holds your bar together in bar form. So make sure you do use the cream of tartar. And then we have cornstarch. Now this is good for hardening your bar, and it also makes the water feel kind of silky in the bath. Go ahead and grab a large mixing bowl, and we're going to add our SLSA. Now you don't want to just pour this in because it will poof up and it gets in your lungs. So if you have a mask, go ahead and put that on. But either way, you're going to want to make sure when you pour it, you're super careful, and until this gets wet, you're super careful when mixing it, because I'm certain that it's lighter than the air and it just poofs right up at you. So I normally pour it from way down here just to reduce some of that poofiness. And then go ahead and add your baking soda. Add the cream of tartar, and then we're going to add our cornstarch. And then we'll set this aside and get our wet ingredients. We have 3 wet phase ingredients. We have our vegetable glycerin, which is a natural humectant. We have cocoa mitopropyl betaine, which is a surfactant. It's very mild and it helps to create a more stable bubble. It makes the bubbles last longer in the tub. And then we have our fragrance oil. Now I'm using a Love Spell type fragrance oil that smells amazing. To our dry phase ingredients, we're going to go ahead and add the vegetable glycerin. Then we're going to add our liquid surfactant. And then very last, we will go ahead and add our fragrance oil. When you mix this up, you want to be very careful that you don't stir just wildly, because you do have that SLSA in here. So I just kind of mix it very gently. Once the SLSA is wet, then it's no longer an irritant, but until that point it can, like I said, float in the air. Now I normally start mixing with a spatula, and then I find it easier just to mix it by hand. So I'm going to go ahead, put on my gloves, and then start mixing this by hand. Okay, so when you're done mixing it, it should be able to hold its shape. As you can see, it's a little bit crumbly, but it's not super sticky, and it's not so crumbly that you can't work with it. What we want to do is now go ahead, split the dough into 2 equal parts, one for the blue and one for the red. So we'll go ahead and set the one for the red off to the side. Go ahead and put your blue coloring in. Now it's weird because it's too thick to probably go in a hand mixer, but mixing it by hand is kind of difficult. It's like a very thick, almost like a clay consistency, so it takes a little bit of patience to mix it by hand. And then we'll do the same thing with the red colorant. And what we're going to do is we're going to smush the blue one down, and then just come in with a rolling pin. What you don't want is it to stick all to the counter. And this is, it doesn't look like a pretty good shape, but it is fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this off to the side. And then we'll grab our red and we're gonna do the same thing. And then we'll bring our blue back. And we're just going to put the red on top of it. We're going to go ahead and squish it down, because what we really want to do is merge the two colors into one. Okay, so we have this blue on the outside and then red on the inside. Now what you're going to want to do is grab a piece of wax paper, and we'll go ahead and pop it on the wax paper. Now it might be kind of hard to see what I'm going to do here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it up, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to push down really good, and then I'm going to continue to do that until I roll it all the way to the end. Now after you've done it a few times, it's not as weird to roll something with the wax paper as it is the first time you do it. Now all I'm doing is making sure that everything is pushed together tight, that the colors aren't trying to separate. Otherwise, if, say, the blue was trying to separate from the red, this layer might rip off when you're trying to cut it. So I'm just making sure everything is very, very tight. And then you just come in with a soap cutter. Hope you enjoyed the video. What you're going to want to do is take your bubble bars and you're going to want to put them on something to dry for 3 to 7 days, and then they will firm up to become a solid bar. Hope you enjoyed the video.